Trusting Muslim Ramadan series, Aligning with Allah. In today's episode, we're going to talk about sabr. We're going to talk about sabr, about how it's often misunderstood in practice, how we kind of take it out of, what it's supposed to do for us and how we're supposed to go through sabr and experience sabr, but also how we can use sabr as emotional regulation, which is such a huge buzzword also by the way, in today's day and age. We talk about nervous system regulation, emotional regulation, and the truth is that many people don't really know how to do either. And today I'm kind of hoping that I can give you a little bit of insight on how you can emotionally regulate through sabr, through what Allah has already given us, inshallah, and how through using sabr as emotional regulation, you can actually create more of an intimate bond with Allah rather than one where you are essentially creating distance from Him. Because the truth is that for many of us, we use sabr wrong. Many of us, not all of us. So if you're sitting out there and you're like, Zara, I definitely don't do it wrong. Alhamdulillah, I'm super happy for you. But many of us do it wrong. I want to very quickly, actually, before I go into it, I want to preface by saying, yesterday we spoke about waiting and how sometimes when we're put in a position where we feel like we have to wait or we feel like there's a delay in like Allah's mercy and blessing to us, that we can sometimes, in other words, put ourselves in a victim mode and be like, oh, poor me. Oh, it's so hard for me. When in reality, it's not necessarily necessary for us to do that. In today's episode, we can maybe turn that around and say when you're potentially in situations where it's not that you are in a victim mode, but you could be like where you are actually the victim of some type of injustice one way or another, or that it's just something that's really, really difficult for you to go through, whatever it might be. So you might not experience yourself or see yourself as a victim, but you're still experiencing quite a bit of hardship through what it is that you're going through. So how can we then use sabr? Now, it's very important to understand that sabr is many things. Sabr, in a general understanding, means patience. That is how many of us understand sabr, because that's the general understanding of sabr. But sabr, subhanallah, has many, many more meanings outside of that. It's endurance, resilience, so much more. In fact, I actually have a Substack that I wrote about sabr. And if you're interested in reading that and you're not currently subscribed to my Substack, I will leave a link. Inshallah, I'll remember to put the link in the description of this episode so you can go and check out my Substacks. And if I forget to put it in, which, let's be real, it does happen, send me a message over on Instagram and I will send you the link so you can go and check that. So just let me know over there if I forget it. Because I'm not going to go into the different meanings of sabr and how sabr can look, because that's not the point here. The point is how we respond to positions when it is required of us to have sabr. Now, this is where it becomes really interesting, because many people will take sabr, patience in general, when they're going through difficult times and translate it within themselves to mean emotional silence, numbness, no reaction. Okay, basically pretending that you're okay and not crying when you're feeling sad, not, letting emotions out, not feeling your emotions, basically being completely in denial of your emotions and suppressing them, and potentially even not questioning what is going on. So, you're not questioning anything about your situation. You're just completely accepting without any sort of like a human emotional reaction that is bound to come up. So for some people, sabr is, emotional silence, emotional numbness. But that's not what sabr is about. It's not about erasing your emotions. It's not about putting a lid on it and saying you're never supposed to feel. It's about feeling what you're feeling and still trusting Allah, even when it hurts, even when you're angry, even when you're disappointed, even when you're sad, even when you're whatever it is, grieving, when you're going through loss. Any of these huge emotions that take huge emotional take huge energetical tolls on us that can wear us down. Truthfully, some of them more than others. It's not a question of, oh, have sabr. Oh, okay, so I'm not allowed to feel any of the things. I'm just supposed to sit here and wait as just numb, like a mannequin, having no emotions, but still operating or looking like a human. That's not what it's about. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he was a very emotional person, and he still had a lot of sabr. So we can use him as a role model here, that he was allowed to feel what he felt, but he still had sabr through any and everything of this, through the death of his son. There were so many things that he went through that required a lot of emotional intelligence and regulation on his end, and he used sabr as a way to feel his emotions, but still trusting Allah through that. That is what sabr does. It is trusting Allah even when it hurts. Okay. I think I'm not sure how it happened or when it happened or whatever, because I don't do social studies, my love. But at some point or another, we interpreted sabr to mean you got to accept what it is and you got to do it quietly. Meaning you're not allowed to complain, you're not allowed to show your emotions, you're not allowed to show that you're sad, you're not allowed to show that you're angry. And so basically you start bottling a lot of resentment, anger, frustration, because how can I hold on to these emotions and not let it out? And if I'm feeling so greatly about something, especially if I feel like these negative emotions, or what we deem to be negative emotions around, sadness, grief, loss, whatever, then we can start feeling quite resentful very quickly, because it doesn't feel good to be sad but not feel like you're allowed to show your sadness or express your sadness. We can detach completely, and we can start doing that as a mode of survival, because we don't feel like it is safe for us now to feel our emotions. And so we start just automatically, whenever we go through something difficult, we're just like, oh, sabr, sabr, sabr. And this automatically means that we just shut down and detach emotionally from whatever it is we're going through, which again does not make an emotionally regulated person. It does the very opposite, right? Where we are now no longer able to feel what we need to feel, to process it in that way through our emotions, because that is what they're there for. That is why Allah has done it, given us these emotions. And in the end, ultimately, we're creating a distance between ourselves and Allah, because now we might start feeling misunderstood by Allah, because we might feel like, well, he keeps putting me through this, but now Allah keeps thinking I'm strong because I'm not showing, that this is hurting me, or I'm having a difficult time, and I'm not seeing the other side of this suffering, this pain, but Allah keeps giving it to me. Maybe Allah is misunderstanding me. Maybe Allah doesn't understand that I'm actually hurting and these things, but I gotta stay strong, because sabr, I have to, show, keep up this face, this facade. And in reality, it's the exact opposite, because you actually want to be emotional with Allah, honest emotion with Allah, showing that authentic emotional side of you. You want to be able to present yourself authentically with Allah, because Allah will see through anything that you are pretending to show for. This is again where quite often, in the dua, when we don't feel like we have this beautiful relationship with Allah, where we can be this open and honest with Allah, that we start making these pageant duas. It's been really hard, Allah, and I'm really struggling. But thank you so much. I've really appreciated that. I know you think I'm really a good astrologer. Instead of coming into your dua and saying, I'm struggling, Allah, this is hard. I need some type of rest. I need ease. I need calm. This is hard. I'm struggling. This is so hard for me. I feel like I'm breaking. Allah loves it when you keep returning to Him, even when it's hard. Allah loves it generally, regardless of how we turn to Him. But Allah loves it specifically when we're going through difficult times, because that is where He's truly testing us, and our resilience and endurance and our connection with him, our willingness to keep coming back to him. So when we can show up in front of Allah through difficult times and cry to him in front of him and show our emotions to Allah. I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm sad, I'm hurt. And showing it to Allah, the safest place. Allah says, I love that you're bringing it to me. Because it shows that at the end of the day, even though it hurts, even though I maybe put something or took something away from you that you really wanted, or, you experienced a loss because I wanted you to experience that loss, you're still choosing to come back to me. That is what Allah loves to see. That is the endurance. That is what Allah loves when we do that. It's not a question of, okay, so I won't care anymore. Sabr, I won't care about it anymore. Whatever comes will come. That's not what it's about. It's about, I do care, but I still surrender. I care, I will feel it, it'll hurt, it'll make me sad, but I will still surrender through the hurt, through the anger, through the frustration, through whatever I might be going through and feeling like. I will still come back to Allah and say, it feels so unfair and I can't believe you're putting me through this, but I still trust you. Even though sometimes I feel like I need you to give me a break. And that's okay. We all have been in that position at some point or another. We don't want to create emotional distance from Allah. Our relationship with Allah is not void of what we deem to be negative emotions. Again, all of the things that were like, oh, anger. I can never show Allah anger and I can never be angry with Allah. You probably have. Most of us will. Angry, upset, irritated, frustrated. Because Allah puts us in those situations for a reason. He puts us through those emotions for a reason so we can learn to surrender through it and understand that we are greater than our emotions. But we still need our emotions in order for us to process the things that we're going through. That is one of the ways that we learn. And when we have sabr, we can use that sabr to say, I will emotionally regulate with Allah. So now it's not just a question of I'm going to be numb and pretend to Allah. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to put the greatest performance ever on my prayer mat when I'm speaking to Allah. But deep inside, I'm actually really hurting. I'm actually showing up and being vulnerable with Allah. And I'm still having sabr through it. I still endure. I still have the resilience. I still have the patience and all of those things, right? So we're essentially in this in situations like this, we're keeping our hearts open instead of hardening them, ourselves. And we are very much also very responsible for the state of our hearts. Are they being hardened by, environment and stuff like that? That is one thing. But what are we doing, actively doing? And if we are not embracing our own emotions that we may feel like Allah is putting us through, yeah, it's hard sometimes to hear these things, I know. But when we feel like Allah is putting me through so much hardship and I'm starting to resent Allah, or I'm starting to feel irritated, or I start feeling like I'm being bullied, or I start feeling like whatever, that we then start thinking, oh my God, I'm not allowed to feel these emotions, so I'm gonna lock him up behind closed doors inside of myself. And now we are numb. We're numb to everything, and it directly destroys our relationship with Allah. It creates that distance when Allah is like, I'm making you go through all of these things exactly because I need you to come to me with those emotions. I need you not to suppress it. I need you to use that to move closer to me. It also shows that there's a level of spiritual safety that we can experience with Allah in these moments. What more spiritual safety is there than going through a difficult time and still feeling safe coming to your Lord, knowing that He's the one who has facilitated or allowed for whatever it is that you're going through to happen in the first place. So you're going through a difficult time and nothing can happen without the permission of Allah. So what you're going through at some point or another, Allah said, I'm going to allow her to go through that. I know it's going to be hard for her. And then you still feel safe to come to Allah and regulate. You still feel safe to come to Allah and let out your emotions. That is where you emotionally regulate as a person. And that is spiritual safety. So you can bring your confusion, your disappointment, your sadness, your anger, your frustration. You can bring all of that to your dua. Allah's not going to hold it against you. Allah's going to welcome it. He's going to welcome it. And He's going to be so grateful to you that you're coming to Him with it and not everybody else. Because that shows that you know that it is only through Him that relief can come. Sabr is not about numbing yourself to what you're going through. Don't use sabr as a tool to disengage. Use sabr as a tool to come to Allah more and express to Allah more all of the things that you're going through, so that you can create even stronger spiritual safety and emotional honesty with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then watch as Allah starts opening up the world to you again, because you're showing Him. You're showing Him, I will always return to you. And that is one of the most blessed things to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, that is what I had for you in today's episode. Please have a little go at this. Think of moments in your life in the past where you've been going through a difficult time, where you felt like you had to, keep a straight face, or whatever it's called, like, oh, I'm just going to, paint on a smile and go about my day. And come to Allah now, even if it happened years ago, and say, I think I misunderstood it that time, and I want to have this conversation with you now, even if it's been years. That was hard. That hurt. When I think about it, it still hurts. It still pains me. It still confuses me. Whatever it might come up for you, you can still do it, even if it was years ago. And especially also if you're going through it right now. You don't have to put on a brave face in front of Allah. Allah sees through that, and He appreciates it so much more when we can show up with a level of authenticity and sincerity in the dua in front of Him, knowing that we can't hide anything from Him anyway. But also, my darling, and again, hitting on that buzzword that so many people are looking for, like, how do I emotionally regulate? How do I nervous system regulate and all that stuff? Do it in your dua. You have the tools already. Allah is there already, and He's ready to help you regulate. But it requires that you come to Him first. All right, my darling, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I will see you, inshallah, in tomorrow's episode. But until then, my darling friend, please don't forget to live in love.